Hi, and very happy to see you today with us. And maybe we can just start. Maybe you can just present your your core business, your current state of development, where MoBerries have been founded, and yeah, maybe just introduce yourself in details, and then we will go through the Q&A afterwards.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Anne. Thank you very much, Ruben, as always, very detailed. Just to cut a long story short, essentially at MoBerries, we're focused on finding people the right career paths. I think nowadays it's more important than ever. A lot of people will focus on a job aggregator, which just shows you, as Ruben said, job ads, and you're applying whatever. However, our core system learns from what people are doing in terms of being able to advise them and help them kind of progress in their career. So we'd like to think of us more of like a career advising job platform and a shared network. We're really proud also in helping candidates that get rejected at one company and utilizing that feedback to help them when they need it most, and that's when they're on the job search, right? So my main concern is, and why I work with Berlin partners, because they're the truth, my main concern is really building kind of like a net that helps Berlin transact with what we call human capital. I think if you're still thinking about it like recruiting, you're failing. It's changed drastically in the last years, where you got to think of humans as your main asset. You as a company, you're a human being, you have to help other humans be. So how you do this is you have to build a really good system for understanding. And that's what we focus on.
Very nice, thank you very much. Maybe I will connect that with what Ruben has presented or mentioned before. And namely, I would like to ask you if when it comes to hire somebody, so Ruben told us there are a lot of universities and so on. Where you would like to recommend where could we reach out to the students and the skilled people?
So first and foremost, what I'll tell you is you have to be able to run a lot of trial and error. It's like a science, and today we find ourselves in the era of tribalism. So what that means is find your tribe. If you're hiring for technical people, go to the technical universities, find technical kind of platforms out, but also get involved in social. Like the most important thing today, and I think that's building on what Ruben was saying, is in Germany, the job ad is really like employer brand centric, and places like Reddit for any development, like people who develop, GitHub is actually an incredible place to actually be able to interact with your talent. Discord is a growing place. So join the places where you're gonna find your people, because also Berlin is not like any other market, especially if you're coming, you think, oh, I'm coming from France or coming, it's similar. We can cover that, but we are actually historically a transient city. So it's a city that a lot of kind of younger people, they come, or people come for a few years of their life and they kind of move on to different, at least in the international scene. So also that has a lot to say about the quality of talent you'll find. So it's very important to understand the type of profile that you want to hire and what are the key skills, because you will then be able to identify where to best find them. We have a lot of universities. I think Ruben will underline this extensively to you. The universities we have here are really great. However, the process of working with them is a little slow and tedious, to be real with you. Like the technical university, they have a job board, they have these things, but do you want to go through that process? Where else you can find where those technical students are? Are they on GitHub, wherever they could be, and find the boards where they are and engage them that way? That's my recommendation. Like we're constantly growth hacking to find the best people. And one place that gets hated on a lot, especially for students, and it gets under the radar, eBay Kleinanzeiger. You'd be super surprised. Like a lot of people don't talk about it, but you can find some, because also you have to understand where the local talent is. And in Berlin, we have two types of economy, right? We have this beautiful international startup, whatever. But what I'm really concerned about, you have to really be realistic. The prices in Berlin are soaring. Rent has gone through the roof. Over the last year, post-Corona, we've seen about 18% increase across the board in salaries. Of course, inflation has something to do with this as well. However, the demand, and then you have to look at two sub-factors. One, German talent versus non-German speaking talent. German speaking talent goes for a premium because there's no like infinite, and it gets prioritized directly. Like I'll tell you, on our platform, the average German candidate who's active will get anywhere between 16 to 20 interview opportunities directly within probably the first 30 days versus non-German speaking talent. So that's something to really keep in mind. Also, one thing, if you want to be smart, is a lot of people try to like market to the urban kind of professional person here. But what about the local Berliners who've grown up here, who are now living in the outskirts of the city because they can't afford the prices that Ruben outlined to you? And the reason why your companies are exciting to them is that you're giving them access into the working economy. Like, people don't want to be making 1,300 bucks a month doing these traditional jobs, whereas they would do it for you to up their CV, up their profile. So you have to really understand that we have also here, on top of that, we have two marketplaces. So we have kind of like our black market, which is traditionally now kind of being phased out, and we have our open marketplace. So I think these are things to keep in mind, but don't be overly reliant, because also Berlin, as I said, is a transient city. You have to be able to seize things yourself. And if you're not going to build relationships with people, you're wasting your time. That's really the reality.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very precise as well, and a lot of experience we can hear. Also, Ruben mentioned a lot of financing instruments. Do you have any experience with it?
Yes. And number one, people you should be speaking to at all. This is why I do this stuff for Berlin Partners. I've tried to, over the years, like I cut back on where I try to really lean into actually I don't try, I lean into the core relationships. When I was younger, it was really about the amount of people, but as I grew older, it's like fine wine. And Berlin Partners are everything they are going to tell you they are. They're going to help you recruit. They're going to help you with the visas. They go out. Listen, Ruven, Burkhard, and their whole department, they go out to proactively address macro and micro issues in the transacting economy that we have here. Their job and their mandate is to help you be successful so they can attract more people here. So the first people I'm looking at all the time is Berlin Partners. They'll keep you posted on whatever new funding programs there are. They're connected to the banks here. They're connected to everybody, even the large corporates. So I would really recommend look at them. But then also, guys, funding has never been easier than this time. We're in the digital age. And if you have a solid business case, we actually have now a bigger stable. We have a lot of venture capital here, and we have a bigger stable of institutional investors, private and institutional investors. So there should be no limitations in Berlin. This isn't like 10 years ago. You can ask Ruben when you would knock on 100 doors and maybe get 2-3 answers. If your idea is relatively good, and another thing to underline, there's not a lot of great deals. So a lot of people are trying to do the same thing over and over. So if you have a really good product and you believe in what you're doing and you can outline your vision, I'm very confident you can get very good funding, because also thanks to people in the AI space and people in different tech spaces, they've really proven it for you. So there shouldn't be that difficulty, to be real, but always lean into Berlin Partners. And the best part about it, the majority of this, you're going to save so much money just by using services that the city of Berlin wants to offer you. So that's why I do these calls. I'm really telling you, it's a growth hack.
Thank you very much, Mo. And maybe it's a question maybe for both of you. Would you start with like looking at the financing programs and then look for your talents, and first look at the fitting talents and then have a look at the financing instruments? What would you recommend for us from this?
So my whole recommendation is to step back, map your company's org chart, like your organizational chart, where you want, because you're not gonna, look, I explained to you the level of talent here, and I'm really honest with you. You won't be able, most of you will not be able to afford top level talent right away early in your funding. So you're going to have, that's why I tell you, map your organization to see where can I afford to kind of cut corners and not get the perfect thing or the perfect employee, let's say, or team member. And where can we not compromise? And to understand that is really key as you go into funding, and then kind of translate that into the market. Because if you're going to compete right now, like technical talent, one of the things I don't understand are people who come to Berlin and like, we definitely need German speaking developers. Good luck, good luck. Very picky. And they get harassed every day over LinkedIn, different channels. Good luck. So you gotta have a great mission. And before you pick your employees, and decide, okay, let's focus on going a hiring, what's your kind of like employer brand? How are you going to develop people? Employees, especially German employees, they're very hesitant. I always try to compare it to my friends like a Tinder date, whereas like a woman has to be worried about if you're going to murder her. And that's the same thing with German employees. It's like, do we want to go here? Are they like, you got to sell to them. You have to proactively be selling all the time and really invest in your employer brand, and then invest in explaining to people their roadmap. Like, yo, if you start here, this is what you can develop into. You can go here and there. And you know what? One of the things you're gonna really have to understand is, younger people now, they move jobs much faster than they ever did in history, and salary is becoming more and more of a thing because they're not emotionally attached to your company. They're emotionally attached to their bank account. That's the reality. This whole thing about, oh, war for talent, for people who have really great employer brand, there is no war for talent, because everybody wants to work for Tesla because the CEO's out in the he's a PR machine. But also at the same time, what you have to really understand is the war for talent hasn't been won. You are now we are in the midst, like, where people pause, and you're in the war for automation is coming. Okay, a lot of these jobs where, like, for example, these delivery jobs, once they can be automated with self-delivery and all these things, there's a lot of segments of jobs that are going to go away. Okay, customer service, these types of things where people move into bots and these things. And Berlin partners, ideally enough, already plan for these things. They look at economic and macro trends and they look at that. So before you go hiring, first go into budgeting, and then look at, you're not going to find A players all across the board. Whoever tells you this is lying to you straight up. Oh, we hire the top 10% across the board. No, you don't. It doesn't exist. So you have to be able to compromise, and you also have to be able to understand that, where do you really need German? Because we're an international city, and where can you afford to pay a premium? That's just really me being pragmatic.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mo. And also, in order to come back to the profile of the skilled people, some of the startups or companies that are attending right now the meeting are looking for, like maybe they don't know how to choose the senior level of the talents they are hiring. How, yeah, do you know how to choose the right seniority for the talents? So maybe that could be very, yeah,
so
tricky.
We say in German, alles das glänzt ist nicht Gold, right? So everything that shimmers is not gold. I think the key thing is, like I explained to you guys, is transient city. There's a lot of salespeople in the city. And I'm telling people who can sell you what they do. Look at the organizations they've worked with, the past, like, what have they delivered? Be very KPI driven. Also, when you hire, build out case studies. And then honestly, look at if you can integrate any form of psychometrics. There's so many startups that have these types of abilities. A lot of them are not what they claim to be, but you need to be able to gather a benchmark of information and then be able to compare and contrast talent. Because the thing is, and I'll really tell you guys this, in my journey, what I've really realized is sometimes to overpay for the right talent is the way to go, because it's going to make your life easier as an operator, so you can focus on the macro and micro. The key, though, is that you have to, excuse me, and I'm honest here, you have to root out the BS, right? You'll have a lot of people who are like a mid-manager in a large company claim to you that I did this, this, and that. And so the best way to know how to talent and to know how to evaluate talent is put them on an equal benchmark, but also network in the city so you can ask around. Nowadays, you can also build a stack really effectively. There's so many startups out there. There's so many established players, and you can just build a stack for evaluating and understanding who you want. And really ask yourself, be honest with yourself, what's our employee churn ratio? Like, how much churn do we want in a year? Most of these people, as they say, who start the race with you, they're not going to finish the race. So I really am a believer in investing in the screening process, being difficult, and trying to evaluate what is noise and who has really delivered. And where you guys, I think the most of these people in here, actually, what they're looking for is sales talent. Because in Germany, the reality is, if you need sales talent and you want to sell to corporates or this or that, they need to speak proper German. And they need to speak German with no accents, none of this. It's the truth. Like, there's people don't pick up their cold calls, they don't do these things. And those are the areas where you can look at my LinkedIn. 10 years ago, I was making posts about this and saying to people, look, you're undervaluing salespeople. You treat them like crap. And now post-corona and everybody, oh, we need salespeople, because they realize products don't sell themselves. We're not all Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, that's the reality. And so you have to be real and not be scared of this leftist, oh, being too woke. You got to call it for what it is. You need people who can speak German at a high level, or else people in these corporate companies, they don't pick up the calls. They don't do the things that you want them to, they don't respond to you. So And it's key that also selling in Germany is very, very different than selling in every other economy. One thing I'll tell you guys is Germany and Japan, and this is what I've seen since I was a kid, and as I grow, it just supports itself, are the two hardest consumer markets to crack in the world. German people are naturally skeptical people. They're not going to throw money at you. They want to see you perform before they do anything. So again, going back to that Tinder date, every person who was trying to convince somebody meet me for dinner, why would the person meet you, or why they should align themselves with your brand? Like, build a brand so that people can show off about you when they're meeting their friends, right? And Berlin is a very superficial city, to be real with you, because we don't have the monies of London or let's say Paris. But people want to be at a bar and say, I'm working at this company. Oh, did you see this? Did you see that? People, you have to give them the bullets so that they can shoot and talk about you, right? So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you very much. There is also actually a very concrete question I got beforehand about culture, and I think it could be like also like connect the dot right here. How would you like set up an initial rules or culture around the team members? So maybe then you can like.
If I may, so don't go with woke messaging. I know that might shake a lot of people. So don't tell people you're a family, because you're not. You can't fire your brother. You can't fire your sister. You can't fire. Look at the employer marketplace as transactable. What people look for today from their employers are clarity. They want to be equipped. They want to be respected. They want to trust you, and they want recognition for what they're doing. So establish systems for that so that real A players can stand out and you can do your best to retain them. But you also have to think about every A player who leaves you. How do you maintain that contact with them? So again, that they're talking great about you, right? Even if people leave, but you train them and people go, where did that person work? Oh, they work there. Oh, that person must have trained them. So consider that your brand is a seed that you lay inside of everybody. And honestly, this is a prerogative from this generation. It's generational, but also how we've evolved as a culture. Like when I got started in sales, it was because like I had nowhere really else to go. I had sink or swim, that's the reality. But nowadays, like people have a lot of options with the onset of digitalization. People can learn, they can learn tech, they can learn a program. People who would traditionally 10 years ago say, oh, well, sales is my way to break in. I'm going to do that. And maybe I'll become a product manager. It's not the same route. So you have to understand that you're very, very replaceable. And systems of transparency and building trust, they ask for these feedback cultures and they ask for these things. They want to know where the company's going. Think about it this way. If your girlfriend or boyfriend thinks you're cheating on them, they're going to act suspicious and they're going to be like that. Think of employees always questioning your authenticity. So you have to create these systems to engage them. And this goes especially for a lot of the tech talent. They're going to leave. They're going to leave. Somebody's going to give them boatloads of money that you can't give them. But some of you are going to have missions. Some people are very mission. And that's why I tell you, lean into the tribe. People who believe what you do or in your technology or whatever, but at the same time, make it transactable. This whole thing of a family, no, tell them, look, you come here, you're going to get this, and that. And that should set you up to earn 20, 30% more on your next contract. And it's good. Not all people go to a football team and play for PSG from day one. Some of us aren't Real Madrid. So we have to know who we are so that people then can move on. And if they move on, they'll become your best advocates.
Very nice. Thank you very much. And maybe on this point, I would have a question for Ruven, maybe, because it's we got also a very specific question regarding what should be taken in consideration by hiring someone, for example, from France, because I know we have someone from France there. Should I take in consideration the expectation here from Germany or the expectations from France or any other countries? Yes.
Can I, before Ruben goes, let me just underline that. So I've worked with French companies that have actually moved out to Germany. What you have to do is you cannot have decentralized orders. That's one of the most undermining thing ever, where you have somebody in recruitment or HR in France telling you how the German market is. First of all, you're going to lose respect with your German recruiters. Second of all, Germany is a much different dynamic than France. So you need to hire somebody locally. When we used to talk about internationalization, we'd say think local, right? Globally local. You need to hire somebody locally who the head or whatever the main office in France really trusts as an operator. If you don't have that and you're having people from France give orders to people here in Germany, good luck. It's a recipe for failure. You're going to keep spending a lot of money. Like we are diametrically two different marketplaces.